This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I am Wendy Griffith. Well, the number of new COVID-19 cases in America appears to be decreasing slightly, but the death toll is rising, and 21 states are considered to be in red zone areas. A FEMA report shows hospitalizations are up 80% across the country. 13 states and Puerto Rico now reversing their reopenings, and another 13 pausing or delaying theirs. And health officials say the average age of those infected continues to fall. In Austin, Texas, the age group from 10 years to 19 years old made up more than 10% of cases in that area. This as school districts are still not sure if they can safely bring students back to the classroom. The American Federation of Teachers says it would support teachers if they choose to strike if their schools open without proper safety measures.
In most places around the country, people are not ready. They can't fund the safety safeguards that they need, even if they can plan for it. PPE, cleaning, new bus routes, all of these things cost money.
Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence arrives in North Carolina to visit Thales Academy today to see how school choice works and to advocate for its success as they hold in-person classes during the pandemic. Well, days after opening, a staff member in training did test positive for COVID-19 at the school's Raleigh campus. They are also offering virtual classes. School districts and private schools across the country are deciding what kind of education they will offer this fall. Dr. Neil McCluskey is director of the Cato Institute Center for Educational Freedom and joins us now with more on what's happening. Dr. McCluskey, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, with some public schools going online for the fall, might more parents choose to leave public schools? What do you think?
What we're seeing is that parents do appear to be leaving public schools, at least those parents who really want in-person education. Now, there's lots of different things that different parents want because all families face different challenges, and COVID-19 has different concentrations in different places. But we are increasingly seeing reports from around the country of private schools seeing upticks in their enrollment, and specifically a parent saying they want the in-person 5-day-a-week education that they think is best for their kids. And we keep a tracker of private schools that are going out of business under the COVID-19 economy, and we don't see nearly as many closures as we expected. So that's another indication that a lot of parents may be moving their kids to private schools because they're offering in-person education public schools aren't.
Interesting. So more private schools are deciding they will hold in-person classes as opposed to public schools.
That certainly seems to be what the anecdotal evidence suggests. We don't have any surveys of that, but for instance, in Los Angeles, the public schools said they were all going to go online only. The Catholic diocese there said they were going to offer in-person classes. Now, what we've also seen, and we've seen in parts of California, is governors will say, well, we're not going to allow anyone, private or public, to open their schools in person. But we've certainly seen cases of private schools doing something very different from the public schools, and we've certainly seen many cases of parents saying, we will go to those private schools because we want that in-person education.
Dr. McCluskey, what can you tell us about homeschooling in private schools? Might more parents choose these options this year?
Yeah, the other thing we've been seeing is we've certainly seen an increase in, at least as reported by many private schools, increased interest in enrollment. And we also are seeing a phenomenon that sort of bubbled up really in just the last week or two in the news of pods or micro schools where families of maybe in total 10 kids or so are getting together and they're sort of pooling their resources to bring a teacher on to teach those kids in person, but they're sort of self-contained groups, so that decreases the danger of COVID-19 exposure. And they are being called pods in some cases, or micro schools in another. And micro schooling is actually something we've seen percolating up and growing over the last several years, which is essentially smaller groups of students and families, maybe 20 kids, maybe 30 kids, 1 or 2 adults teaching kids of all different ages, that are a very efficient way to deliver education. So this may just be a continuation of it, but driven by people's worries about being exposed to COVID-19 while still wanting direct in-person interaction between teachers and kids.
A subject that's not going away anytime soon. Dr. McCluskey, thank you so much for joining us with your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Attorney General Barr under fire as congressional Democrats grilled him for nearly 5 hours. Their accusations aiding and abetting the president and violating his oath of office. What's the one word behind their vicious hatred? And what new investigation is now underway? Charlene Aaron tells us more.
Attorney General Barr spent nearly 5 contentious hours before the House Judiciary Committee. Democratic Chairman Jerry Nadler set the tone right out of the gate.
In your time at the department, you have aided and abetted the worst failings of the president.
Barr firing back that he's not doing the president's bidding.
I'm supposedly punishing the president's enemies and helping his friends. What enemies have I indicted? Who could you point to one indictment that has been under the department that you feel is unmerited?
Others directly accusing him of violating his oath.
There's nothing more dangerous to our republic than an attorney general who refuses to uphold his oath, refuses to uphold and defend the Constitution, and swears allegiance to just one person, Donald Trump. Sadly, that's where we are today.
My loyalty is the
Mr.
Constitution.
Chairman, I yield back.
That's why I came into government.
Gentlelady yields
The lady just accused him of not adhering to his oath of office. Let him talk.
Republican Jim Jordan, the ranking minority member, said the Democrats' hostility is all about one thing: Barr's investigation of the Russia probe and his one-word description of the Obama administration's actions.
Spying, that one word. That's why they're after you, Mr. Attorney General. 15 months ago, April 10th, 2019, in a Senate hearing, you said this sentence, quote, "I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal." And since that day, when you had the courage to state the truth, they attack you. They've been attacking you ever since, every day, every week, for simply stating the truth that the Obama-Biden administration spied on the Trump campaign.
The Attorney General made news at the hearing, revealing a separate investigation is underway in the unmasking of General Michael Flynn and others in surveillance reports by members of the Obama administration.
I've asked another U.S. attorney to look into the issue of unmasking because of the high number of unmaskings and some that do not readily appear to have been in the line of normal business.
Wait a minute, I want to be clear. So there is another investigation on that issue specifically going on at the Justice Department right now?
Yes.
He also said peaceful protests in the wake of the killing of George Floyd have been hijacked by violent rioters and anarchists. And he defended sending federal agents to Portland and other cities.
What unfolds nightly around the courthouse cannot reasonably be called protest. It is, by any objective measure, an assault on the government of the United States.
The Mueller report and voter fraud also came up in the hearings. In fact, one Republican lawmaker said Barr was blamed for so much, he's surprised Democrats didn't try to pin the COVID-19 pandemic on him. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Moving overseas, 2 American bases in the Middle East temporarily went on alert today after Iran launched underground ballistic missiles. The launches were part of day 2 of Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard exercises involving a fake U.S. aircraft carrier in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state TV reports drones separately targeted the bridge of the fake aircraft carrier. The drill underlines the lingering threat of military conflict between Iran and the U.S. after a series of escalating incidents last year led to the January drone strike. And joining us now for more on all of this and what it could mean is our senior international correspondent, George Thomas. Thanks, George, for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Iran claimed it fired 2 ballistic missiles from underground for the very first time.
Yep.
Are they telling the truth? What does it mean?
Absolutely. We've got the video. You showed some of it in the clip right here. You know, it's this idea that for the first time, I mean, from these 2 locations in the central of the country, look, it is the first time that they have actually released video of missiles coming out of the ground, pretty dramatic. But, you know, the U.S. intelligence, Israeli intelligence have always known that Iran possesses these underground bunkers all over the country. But this is the first time they've actually showed it. It's not a surprise, but pretty dramatic, you know, coming out of the earth like that.
It kind of is,
right,
actually,
exactly.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, Iranian state TV show pictures of drones targeting the bridge of a fake aircraft carrier.
Right.
What is this all about?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, you go to Jerusalem and get their perspective and they're like, really? You built a fake aircraft carrier in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz? Look, I mean, they're trying to showcase. They do this every year. They have these exercises in the Persian Gulf, in the Strait of Hormuz, basically showcasing some of their latest technology and
flexing
their drones, flexing their muscles and so forth. But, you know, the reality is that if the U.S. had a more significant presence in the region and we were to go toe to toe, I mean, we would put some significant hurting on them. But yeah, they created trying to replicate the USS Nimitz, and they had a life-size, you know, cutout, sort of to speak, of this aircraft carrier, and they, you know, launched missiles, bombs using from drones. So it's, you know, the Israelis were actually making fun of this, like, really, this is kind of like a joke. It's like a parody, but, you know, they take this seriously.
Well,
so.
Other than perhaps, you know, flexing their muscles,
Sure.
What is the goal of these military exercises?
Well, look, Iran as a nation is they're under tremendous pressure. Domestically, huge. Their economy is in total shambles. They're under intense sanctions from the United States. They are facing, I reported on this last week about these suspicious fires and explosions that have been taking place around the country at nuclear facilities, power plants. And then there are protests going on in the country. So Iran's regime, they are under some serious constraints as well as pressure domestically and as well as from international. So, you know, they're trying to divert some of the attention, try to let the Iranian people in the country say, oh, we are the great, you know, Persian culture and we can go toe to toe with the great Satan or the little Satan, us being the little Satan, the United States, and Israel being the great Satan, or vice versa. But, you know, again, they're under pressure and they're feeling the pinch. And the United States and this particular White House is trying to get them to the negotiating table to try and strike a deal. We'll see if that happens.
So the U.S. is the great Satan.
Yes,
Israel's the little Satan.
Exactly.
I thought it was the other way around, but you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it makes sense because the countries are, you know. Well, all this happening, you know, at an extraordinary time for Iran, as there seems to be a Christian revival breaking out.
To me, that's the exciting part. We did a story last week about how in the midst of the explosion of the coronavirus, one television organization called Mohabbat TV, one of the most popular satellite Christian televisions broadcasting the gospel into Iran, they reported March, April, May, June, July, every month, 3,000 people were coming to faith in Jesus Christ, more than they've ever seen from the previous year, the same time. So dramatic moments inside the country where people are so fed up, they're desperate, they're looking for hope, and they turn on the television, and the power of Jesus Christ comes piercing through that television screen, and around the country, so many people are giving their lives to Jesus Christ. And that, you know, in the midst of all the stuff that they're dealing with, to see this good news coming is obviously really, really encouraging. And we continue to report on it here at CBN News.
People are looking for answers.
That's right, exactly.
And we know the answer has a name.
That's right, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
You got it.
Thank you, George.
You're most welcome.
Coming up, a powerful storm making its way through the Caribbean, headed toward the U.S. and could threaten Florida's residents. We'll have a look at the forecast when we come back. But before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on The Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of a growing storm system expected to become the next named storm of the season. What will be called Tropical Storm Isaias is expected to make landfall in Florida this weekend. Weather officials said Wednesday morning a tropical storm warning has been issued for much of the Caribbean, including Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and the Bahamas. The 2020 hurricane season has already seen 6 tropical storms: Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, Edward, Faye, and Gonzalo, plus Hurricane Hannah, which hit Texas over the weekend. AccuWeather meteorologist Mark Mancuso has the latest forecast.
The Atlantic hurricane season continues to be quite active. We're looking at another area of disturbed weather, potential tropical cyclone number 9. It's here in the eastern Caribbean. Here you see Puerto Rico. These are the Leeward Islands, and a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms moving rapidly off to the west-northwest. And with some of these squalls here, we have seen winds of 40 miles an hour or so. So it's not quite a tropical storm, but it could become a tropical storm by later today or tonight as it continues to head its way out across the eastern Caribbean. Now here's a look at the satellite estimated radar for you, and you can see the areas of precipitation moving across the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and now bearing down on Puerto Rico. So some squalls moving through here, and there could be some bursts of heavy rain and some strong bursts of wind. Tropical storm warnings are in effect here for the Leeward Islands, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and over to parts of the Dominican Republic. We also have some tropical storm watches, and they do extend up towards the Bahamas. Now, the future path of our potential tropical cyclone has it moving rapidly off to the west-northwest, moving right near the mountains of the Dominican Republic. And these are big mountains, so this would tend to tear it apart. Also, as it moves farther to the west, there could encounter some wind shear, so you take a look at the intensity here being kept as a tropical storm. And oh, by the way, the next name on the list is the ice storm, Isaias. So that would be the name of this system if it becomes a tropical storm. But it does look like it has a lot of disruption on its path, so hopefully it won't become too strong. Now, as we take a look at the wind gusts, there'll be some gusts, tropical storm force for sure, moving their way across the mountains of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and headed towards the Bahamas. Also, very heavy rainfall. Could be looking at potentially up to 10 inches of rain, and that could lead to some areas of mudslides. So those are going to be a couple of the big impacts here. There'll be the gusty winds and the very heavy rain. So even though this may or may not become a tropical storm, a lot of disturbed weather. It'll be a threat to boating interests out here. Squalls could turn hazardous, and also the very heavy rain could lead to flooding, mudslides, travel disruptions, and of course, some power outages here. So that's the way it looks right now. Back to you.
home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
Michael Spurlock is a salesman turned pastor whose first assignment was essentially to close a country church. Now his story is a major motion picture. Our Studio 5 has a quick look at the film.
Dear friends in Christ, the Reverend Michael Spurlock.
Your first job as a pastor is to shut down a church.
It's what it became.
What are you thinking when you take that job?
We didn't meet before. I'm Michael. You're here to sell the church, ain't you? The fact is, you had 12 people in that church today. Jesus had 12 people. He done all right, didn't he?
It's hurting, and folks were discouraged and deflated, hurt, not quite knowing how to move forward.
Michael, you're not here to perform CPR.
If passing out a few flyers helps my congregation feel they can let their church go, I'm going to do it.
If All Saints had a future, we didn't see how it was going to be encumbered with a building that had an $850,000 mortgage and a $5,500 a month mortgage payment.
We're closing the church. We're broke. What is broke?
Ye Win and a group of refugees from Burma showed up, and it was really the 11th hour when we thought we had an offer on the church and we're going to have to accept it, that I took a walk out on the fields behind the church, and God said, Michael, I have given you farmland, and I have sent 65 expert farmers from the other side of the world. You're supposed to start a farm here.
Start a farm, we work together, we save the church. Amen. How you gonna plow? It's funny you should mention that.
What do you do with that mandate from God when you hear it?
I ran up the hill to my office, and I called my senior warden, who's the senior lay leader of the parish, who's a retired Methodist minister. And I said, he'll bring me to my senses. So I called him and I said, Michael, I've just heard God tell me we're supposed to start a farm here. And he says, great, call the bishop.
Wow. So he didn't bring you to your senses?
He didn't bring me to my senses.
You're blowing your boss's chance at a big sale here, preacher.
You risked our careers on
You swore an oath as a minister to God, not to me, to obey, even when you disagree. Swore an oath as a Christian to care for the least of these.
When Ye Win and refugees show up at the church seeking shelter and help, and you're in the process of shutting down the church, what was it that made you open the door and do this?
I don't see how we could honestly claim the title of Christian and done anything differently. What, send them away? Tell them no? It just didn't. My faith in Jesus, my love of Jesus, just tells me there's only one answer here.
I thought I knew the will of God. Was it His voice I heard, or was it mine? Look back where we started.
I want to show you something. We are not where we started.
we're somewhere completely new.
And here we sit. This church's doors are still open. There's still a farm out there.
There's still a small farm.
Yeah.
Still.
And there's a movie about this story.
There's a movie about the story. I should also say it's debt-free.
Awesome.
And that provides the community that's still here freedom from at least that burden.
Absolutely.
Too.
Absolutely.
It's strange and it's wonderful. And because it's strange and wonderful, it seems to fit perfectly with this place, because this is a strange and wonderful place.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
And finally, a New Jersey woman had a special 109th birthday celebration this week. Mary Ruggieri Lenardi was born in 1911 and already survived the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. This year, her loved ones didn't let the COVID-19 pandemic stop them from wishing her a happy birthday. Friends and family drove by her assisted living facility in a celebratory parade. Happy birthday. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Have a great day. God bless.